Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Keeping It Real with Mary. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and I am so pleased to have a special guest with me this morning. One of the things we have to remember is we are still celebrating the month of International Women's Day, but we're celebrating it for the whole month. So it's very important that we highlight the various women that have contributed to our growth within Barbados. And of course, we would have done Dame Nita Barrow. And today, we don't just highlight those women who have passed, we have to highlight those who are present. And my special guest today, I'm going to highlight her because she's very important to the development of women and children in Barbados. That special someone we have with us today is Dr. Denise Charles. And she is an experienced educator, certified counselor, and trainer, certified cultural practitioner. That's very important because Barbados is very cultural. An award winning poet, and she pointed out earlier this week, I think it's Poet Day. She can speak a little bit on that. An author of 4 motivational books. There's a favorite of mine, the last of which she co authored with her husband Gabriel. As a multi genre writer, she has also published academic research in education. She holds a doctorate in educational leadership, which is within higher education, with high commendation from the University of the West Indies. Additionally, she serves as executive director and lead counselor of Better Blends Relationship Institute, a registered charity founded in 2008 by herself and her husband. Under their Better Blends banner, they recently launched Strong Love. And if you all don't follow them on IG, you need to go on to that and see. It's very, very informative and very loving the way how they talk about love and stuff like that. A community and podcast, Strong Love Speaks, which serves to highlight and advocate for strong marriages, relationships, and families as a collective bedrock for building a strong society and nation. Her expertise on sexuality and relationships have been featured on several websites, including yourtango.com, digitalromance.com, Modern Bride, and Online Dating University, just to name a few. She has served as a feature writer and relationship expert for Hitch Magazine, California, and vivoxsoap.com in Canada. She has also been published in Chabot and Fresh Vancouver Magazine, has been featured on 96.7 Wild FM in New York, CIAD 800 FM Montreal, whoop whoop, HuffPost Live New York, and has also appeared several times live on Rogers TV in Toronto. Dr. Charles has really reached far and wide. Now, in Barbados, she has served as the columnist in Sex Talk in the Sunday Sun's Easy magazine and was the resident relationship expert on CBC TV's Morning Barbados. She has also hosted her own radio talk show, Love Life, on Love 97.5 FM and VOB 92.9 FM. Her current podcast, Strong Love Speaks, is streamed on YouTube and on major social media platforms. But I follow her on IG and Facebook. So you guys better start looking for it now. This is the time to do it. Denise and Gabriel have been married for 41 years and they are the parents of 3 handsome, creative, and adult sons. She didn't put handsome, I put the handsome in myself. One of her sons is, I'm fortunate to say, a tutor at my daughter's school. So I'm very, very happy to welcome Dr. Denise Charles.
Good morning, Marie. Thank you so much for that introduction. How are you doing?
I'm well this morning. It's lovely, it's sunny, a bit hazy in
Yes,
places, but it's
yes.
very,
hmm
very, very, very good. I
And
have you
cool
on
as
my
well.
show this morning. Yeah, it's very cool. We don't have to put on any AC and too many fans. I still have a fan because the makeup. um, I'm so pleased to have you on my show. We have worked together before, and
Yes,
that
yeah.
was behind the scenes kind of thing. And I've
Hmm.
always found you to be a very open, very approachable, and creative individual, as I've read in your bio. Um, One of the things which I spoke to this morning is recognizing women not only in the past but in the present. And
Yes.
I would afford you, as I've always done on my shows, individuals to speak on themselves, give us your personal history and the journey of how you've gotten here, and then we will speak a little bit more of the reasoning why we're talking this morning.
Okay, Marie, thank you so much for having me. Let me say that first. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. I love to share my life. I love to talk. Yes, that's one of the things I love to do. And I love to share my life with people because I think that as women, we really have to be in a space where we recognize that our journeys are sometimes very, very similar, even though each of us may have distinct experiences that are that are ours to own. We still share a lot of similarities, and there are things that we can learn from each other. And yeah, just as you said in my bio, I have been an educator for several years, well over 30 years, well over 30 years. Teaching mainly in the secondary schools, even though I've had an opportunity to be a teacher trainer at Edison Teachers College. I've taught at Barbados Community College. I've taught for universities, both locally and internationally. And I continue to work to some degree as adjunct in higher education. I love education. It's one of my passions, but it's just one of my several passions. And if you look at what you described me as in terms of what I currently advocate for with our charity, Better Blends Relationship Institute, and our initiative out of that called Strong Love. It's really all about education still. It's really about teaching people, coaching people, counseling people, helping people to be better at what they do, better as individuals, because we focus on personal development as well, as couple development, marriage development, family growth, marriage growth. So we're really strong advocates for life on the whole because I believe in whole life development. So even though I have been trained as an educator at the level of the school or at the level of college and university, I brought all that I know about how we learn and about how we engage with knowledge and so on into what I do. And trained as a counselor, yes, and I've had the opportunity to also train prospective guidance counselors and so on. Trained as a counselor, I also brought those skills into my education capacity and vice versa. So I believe in whole life development. I believe in being an integrated individual, and everything that I do, I marry the things into each other. So even as an educator who, I work at the Ministry of Education, we're involved a lot in planning and oversight and that type of thing. I still bring my creativity into those spaces. So I don't believe in fragmenting my life, even though I do different things. I see a common thread running through all of them, and I am definitely I call myself a Renaissance woman. I should have taken the book down. I have a book called The Renaissance Soul, which someone introduced me to in the early 2000s, and it has been a life changing book because it allowed me to see that there were other people like me, who were multi skilled, multi talented, who could have gone into so many other areas, and that we don't have to settle for just doing one thing. We may have a major income generator, in terms of our career, but that does not mean that that's the only thing that we should do. So I have sort of um, embrace the teaching of the book, The Renaissance Soul, and I call myself a Renaissance woman because there's so many things that I have gotten involved in. I love the arts. And yes, I do work in the arts and education as well. So, there goes that,
Yes,
but I love the arts. I love fine art. I love writing. I absolutely love poetry. So for World Poetry Day, I posted two of my poems yesterday
I saw
online. And I,
that.
Yes,
Yes.
and I am getting ready to publish my book of poetry very soon, which will have, in addition to the written text, it will also have some video embedded into that text as well. So it's going to be something interesting that's going to be coming up soon in terms of my creative passions. But I love what I do, Marie. I love inspiring people on the whole, families,
Yes.
couples for sure, and
I
women.
know.
And you know that we are also involved in an initiative together, which I will speak about sometime very, very soon.
Yes. One of the things that you spoke to as a woman, um, your journey through work and life
Yes.
itself. And I
Mhm.
know if a lot of people had the opportunity to read your book, if I'm correct, Mind Blowing Sex is one of your
Or that
books.
one, the
Am I
second book,
correct?
How to Have Mind
Yes.
Blowing
Yes.
Sex Without Losing Your
Blowing
Brain.
Sex. Right. Um, a lot of people, I was introduced to that book through a couple
But
who we would
funny
have
you should
met
mention
together.
it. Actually, I'm currently working on the second edition of that book. So I'm
Oh,
working on multiple writing projects. So my poetry is
we
one to
know.
come up very soon,
Yes.
and then the
Yes.
second edition of How to Have Mind Blowing Sex. Because I wrote that book, Marie, when I was in my 40s. I wrote that book. I
Wow.
published that book in 2011.
Uh-huh.
Right? I published that book in
Uh-huh.
2011. I was probably in my mid 40s in 2011, somewhere around there, right?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
for myself, in terms of what led me, my first book was Your Baby's Coming Now Push. And that book was about birthing things, connecting with your
Yes.
purpose, and birthing
Mm-hmm.
it, going through all the challenges, like liken it to a pregnancy and having to go through that 9-month gestation period. I wrote an entire book
Yes.
looking at life using that as an analogy, and
Right.
from that first book came the idea of Mind Blowing Sex. So it's amazing how the first book led me to the second book, because there weren't many people
Yes.
from the Caribbean or from Barbados writing the type of book I wrote about sex. You might have found
That's
educational material
yes.
to some degree, but my book was more about looking at the God designed purpose of sex, and our needing to connect with that purpose so that we can have the best sex ever. And
Yes.
in
Yes.
your 40s, you're kind of going through a kind of sexual renaissance yourself, to some degree, because we may be coming to our own, you know around that time. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It doesn't mean you didn't enjoy it in your 20s and your
Yes.
30s, but in your 40s it's kind of
Oh,
different. And
different. Yes.
maybe that gave me the
Definitely.
boldness to write the book. I don't know. But now that I am 61, you know, I am seeing the book.
Oh,
I am seeing the book through fresh lens. So even though a lot of the information that I wrote originally will still be there, it will definitely still be there. I
yes.
am adding to it.
Yes.
I'm tweaking some of it. I'm adding
Yes.
to it because we're now in a much more digitally driven
Digital.
society than we were in 2011. We were digital, but today it's a lot more driven by the digital. So definitely we'll be
Yes.
including some stuff on that and
Yes.
how that impacts relationships. And there'll be some fresh fodder in there to think on, along with what was there before. So I'm actually enjoying editing the book and so on. So I'm into that right now. And that will be out later this year as well. So yes, that was my second book. My third book, Tonight
Oh,
I'm a
we have
Butterfly.
something to look forward to.
Yes, yes, you do.
Yes, I
My
remember
third
that.
book,
That was a big
Tonight I'm a
launch. That was a
Butterfly,
very big
celebrating,
launch.
celebrating seasons of change. I published that book the same year I completed my doctorate in 2019. And this book was really a
Yes.
sort of coming of age book for women. It speaks to many things that we as women go through. Not that men can't read the book, because my husband and I actually used the book as a devotional during COVID. So men can read the book. They will find the readings just as inspiring. But I do write for a female audience. And a lot of the topics that I deal with,
Yes.
they range from goal setting to breaking barriers and even being in tune with your body and your sexuality, motherhood. They're very short readings, like not more than a page and a half, most of them, 61 of them. And after each reading, there's an
Mhm.
interactive journal type activity for you to engage with the information. So that book has really had really great reviews. A lot of women have told me it has blessed them. One lady said to me, "This book is so good. It should be on the bestsellers list." And I decided, to
You
use a lot
you
of the
give me
reading.
encouragement. I know what
Yes,
I have to do in terms of
yes,
ebooks, but
that's right.
you've given me the idea now that I have to really get a book club going so that we can all get
Exactly.
women
Wonderful.
involved in the right way.
Yep,
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
So
Because
I've
your
actually
books
been
are very
using.
instrumental. Very,
Yes,
very
thank you,
instrumental.
Marie. Yeah. So I've actually been
Yes.
using those readings to create another podcast that I do, which I didn't mention in my bio, Butterfly Chronicles. That's one I do on my own, where I speak to some of the issues that present from the readings. I just share maybe for half hour or so on particular reason. I've probably done about three of them so far. So I have another one coming very soon. Yeah,
Hmm.
so and then my fourth book, which is the one I co-authored with my husband, Journey to One, which tells our love story. And it doesn't just tell of our story, but from when we became a couple, which was when I was young, in my teenage years. Yes, I
Hmm.
met my husband at that stage in my life. And, our relationship mushroomed when I got into college. And by the time I was in, by the time I'd ended college, we got engaged and I got married in my first year, at the end of my first year in university. So yeah, it's that kind of
Yeah.
young love, but in that story, we don't only share our journey as a couple, but we also talk about our individual lives. So there are chapters when he speaks about his life and about a lot of the trauma he experienced as a boy, teenager, young man. And I speak as well about my personal experiences and trauma. And we do that because we wanted people to understand that we brought a lot of baggage into our marriage. And at that time when we got
Yes.
married, marriage counseling wasn't on vogue. It wasn't something that happened. So you got married, you loved each other deeply. Yes, you got married, you wanted to be together, you wanted to build a life and a family. But then there was so much stuff that you really needed to unpack and unravel. And so we tell that story, and we tell that story of how we came into an understanding of ourselves through God, our relationship with God, through counseling. We spoke of key people who had significant roles to play in our lives in terms of helping us to grow, helping us to be free, and bringing us to a place where we could really be open, totally open and vulnerable, because we went through a lot of challenges, almost to the brink of divorce, but God really rescued our marriage.
Well,
And we are where we are today. Yes.
41. 41 is a
41
marker.
years. Yep. 42 this year, God willing. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. So,
Yes.
one of the things that you mention a lot of in terms of your sharing aspect and
Hmm.
helping not just the relationship, but helping women to also evolve within
Hmm.
their marriage or outside of their marriage, your
Yes.
perspective on how you're helping women. You drew
Hmm.
on something that we are now looking at in terms of
Yes.
looking at women who need a sort of environment, an area or a forum or a
Yeah.
space in
Yes.
which to be able to express themselves without
Yes.
having to feel as if it's a clinical experience. It's really somewhere where women would
Space.
have the
Right.
opportunity to be free, to have that open space where they can express themselves throughout the ups, the downs, and everything that they're going through. Tell us a bit about that project that you have started actually, or looking to start,
Yes.
that we
Right.
can be part of.
Of course. So, I believe in purpose, and I believe in listening to the leading of God, who means everything to me, and looking at my skills, looking at my interests, and looking at what I've seen out there in the society, in the wider nation, and among women that I know and those who I don't know personally. I've seen a lot of the challenges that we as women face. I know of a lot of the things that I have navigated myself. And when I look at something like International Women's Day, which I love to celebrate, I love to highlight it every year. I love to do something for International Women's Day. I noticed though that there seems to be almost I don't know if it's intentional or if it is something that just happened, but there seems to be a greater focus on professional women or women of a particular social class. You see that happening a lot. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, I'm an educated woman. People may see me and think, well, you're successful, in your particular areas of expertise, etc. But I believe that all of us as women, no matter what we do, where we work, how much money we make, where we live, I think all of us really have a lot that we can learn from each other. So I had a vision for a multi-generational group, a multi-generational space, and a purpose-driven entity where women are not so much concerned just with networking, because you hear networking a lot. Networking is really about finding yourself in particular spaces and around particular people so you can get ahead. That's really what it's about. It's about first what's in it for me, right? But I've been doing my research and I've discovered another term called net weaving. And net weaving is really different to networking. It's not about what I can get, but it's more about what I can give. And it's not about giving to get or giving to gain. And we know that the hashtag for this year's Women's Day was give to gain. Now, there's nothing wrong with gaining. So don't get me wrong. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with gaining. There's nothing wrong with looking after your needs. The Bible says we have to love ourselves, and it's important to love self and to understand self and purpose and all of that. So I'm not against that. But I think that there's something more to life than just focusing on the self, and focusing on others first is where my heart really is. And it doesn't mean I'm talking about neglecting the self, as I said just now. So this idea, came to me, and I've contacted a number of key women, and you are one, Marie, to work with me in this initiative to really bring this thing to pass, which is now in its embryonic stages. And
Yes.
I won't say the name as yet because I want to do a proper launch. But certainly it is an
Mhm.
idea that we are working with, and we believe God has led us here, and God has led us to some beautiful women, diverse women, women of different
That's
ages.
true.
We don't just want women in their 40s or 50s or 60s like me, or, even older, or 20s. We're all women. We all have the same body parts. We all go through the same things or have navigated similar challenges in life and experiences, our bodies and, our sexuality or relationships or work, having children or not being able to have children or not having gotten married, even if
Yes.
you may have wanted to be married, or losing a spouse. There's so much diversity among us as women, but yet we can lean in and learn from each other, and more so, bless other women. So the idea of net weaving
Yes.
is really to pour into the lives of other women, be in a space where, yes, we
Hmm.
can meet, we can support, we can develop and grow, but that more so than anything else, we can pour into the lives of other women, maybe some who are less fortunate, or those who are not in a space where they may readily access the type of knowledge that we may have based on our experiences, but that we can use our knowledge,
Hmm.
our experiences to build each other up and to bless and pour in and bring up other women across our society. So that's the vision.
Yes. Yes. And I love the vision because
Yes.
having spoken with you and the others who we're hoping would all stay on course, um,
Yes.
I think the point of all of these interesting and fun women activities where they have
Mhm.
um, those individuals of elite status, let me say that,
Yes. Yes.
it's good that they all can attend, but the average person like myself or yourself, we would love to have someone join us as another female
Mhm.
friend on these things. And sometimes those persons cannot afford those things. And I
Right.
understand the level of camaraderie we want to put together for these women because we want everybody with it, whatever status they're at, be willing to come and join from the lowest to the middle to the highest.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Exactly.
understand that if we had to use things, for example, like an individual needed to go to the doctor,
Mhm.
everybody does not have insurance. They don't understand the importance of insurance. Yes, people
Yes.
may say, oh, that's just robbery. Barbadians say that, but
Yeah.
they don't understand the necessity behind the need for insurance. So when
Yes.
a woman now has to facilitate herself at the clinic or
Mhm.
at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, it's a
Mhm.
task because then the process is longer for them. Whereas another individual, middle class or higher, can go and pay a doctor because they have insurance and
Yes.
be
Yes.
refunded through that medium. So
Right.
that to me too is a learning experience for others to
That's
teach
right.
young women now in today's
Younger women.
society
That's right.
the
Yeah.
importance of that.
Mhm.
It may
Mhm.
sound like, oh, that's expensive, but it's the idea
Mhm.
of when I first started to work and I was so fussy getting a paycheck. I didn't know national insurance was coming out. What is national
Yes.
insurance?
Yes.
Why are you
Yes.
taking out this money? So,
Right.
you know, you have to teach these children in school. Don't tell us
Mm-hmm.
about mathematics and English only as a requirement to go to university and community college. You have to
Right.
teach them the grounding and the foundation as well, is to let them know, okay, yes, we want you to work, we want you to contribute to the um, country. You need to do this, but why am I paying taxes? Why am I paying national insurance? I just want to get my money in my hand. That's the
Yes.
area where we're losing our young people as well,
Yes.
because they're
Yes.
only looking at the fast buck. Notably, there are more females on the island, like most countries, than there are
Mm-hmm.
males. So we are the contributors to society right now. And of course, when you go to get a job, a lot of people are telling their children, oh, you're going to end up at a gas station or you're going to end up selling on the street like a vendor. Not that vendoring is wrong, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with having an education, but if you're going to build something from that, you might have a vendor's tray and start selling and say, okay, I'm going to have a little shop next to my house. And you can build that.
Yes. Yes.
That's a
Yes.
business. So
Yes.
you
Yes.
don't want to knock them, but at the same time, when you're building your business, you have to understand what national insurance is about. When you need a pension, if you're not putting money in somewhere to have a pension for later down in life, what's happening? So
Mm-hmm.
if we are able to teach women the importance of this path in life,
Yeah.
step by
And other
step,
paths as well. And other paths as
and
well.
other paths as well, it
Yes.
it probably or could enhance a better livelihood for them,
Yes.
not only as an individual but then also in their partner. So that's why even now there are things when it comes to us women. I speak about perimenopause and menopause. And
Yes.
I was so glad to invite you and another speaker who we had on already was Miss Katrina Eiffel and our other speaker, Dr. Sandra Bino, who is the clinical person on perimenopause and menopause, where I decided, you know what, we really have to sit down and talk to women who are not familiar about this part, and then the aspect of their relationship now with their partners, and then the actual part with the sexual livelihood on perimenopause and menopause. That's the reasoning behind having the event, where it has been launched and started to be advertised, pertaining to a women wellness retreat, where they're going to experience the doctor speaking on the clinical aspect of perimenopause and menopause. And of course, yourself, Dr. Charles, who you're going to be speaking to women about themselves within the relationship, as well as their sexuality within that aspect of going through perimenopause and menopause. I mean, they're two
Yes.
long words that I have to keep saying, but I'm so happy to have you on board because you yourself saw the need for something like this.
Exactly, exactly, and that what your vision is very much linked to mine. So even in terms of this group that we're talking about, we will also be venturing into all of the various transitions that we as women have to face. We have to face. I mean, you don't hear a lot about PMS anymore, but I know years ago, a lot of people talked about premenstrual syndrome and what women went through leading up to their menses monthly, but it is still very much a reality. So it is like
Yes.
it's like as if at every decade, of a woman's life, there are things that you have to deal with. So you have the PMS,
Yes.
you have the peri, which they're saying now can start in your 30s, which seems pretty early, but they're saying
Yes.
can. So you have a different transition in your 30s, you have different transitions in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s. Your body is changing, your emotions also change. These things have
Mm-hmm.
impacts on your relationship, even on your work, how you are able to navigate your work life, because some women have such painful periods. It's difficult to go to work.
Yes.
They have to take a day or two every single month because they have fibroids, they have
Yes.
endometriosis, PCOS, they have something that makes them very ill monthly, and they have to take time away from work just to be able to handle themselves. So, these are all transitions that we as women go through. We are all familiar with these things. And that's why I think
Mm-hmm.
having multi-generational women speak to each other is so critical. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really pleased to be at your event
Yes.
coming up, where we'll get a chance to drill down some more into looking at perimenopause and what
Mm-hmm.
women transition through and how it impacts their sexuality, how it impacts their vision of themselves, and how this spills over into their relationships, if they have a significant other relationship, if they're in a marriage, even how they deal with their children, how they deal with their
Mm-hmm.
work-life balance, their wellness. So I'm really excited, Marie, about being given this opportunity to speak to women, because I know what I have and still going through, and I do a lot of reading and listening to other women across social media platforms about it. May have spoken to one or two friends
Yes.
about it, but I recognize that a lot of women still keep a lot of things hidden. A lot of
Inside.
us
Yes,
women,
they
we
do.
still don't want, there's still this embarrassment. I don't know why, but there's this embarrassment or shame that a lot of women attach to talking about it. So I really look forward to a forum which will allow us to speak freely and share from our hearts, and hopefully
Yes.
get some sound advice into how we can better manage what we're going through.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I'm hoping as well that having introduced you as one of the speakers we're going to be having at the event, and of course, our other speaker, Miss Katrina Eiffel, who was very informative,
Mm-hmm.
a bit shy
Yes.
because we were online. But I told her this is a forum that is called Keeping It Real. The people
Yeah.
who know me very well know that I try to be as liberal as possible. And
Yes.
our forum, our platform is quote unquote, I don't want to say clean, but it's not scientific. It's informative. It's
I
all about
understand you.
learning together. And
Yes.
we have to it's this thing is called excuse me, taboo. Over the
Mm-hmm.
years, a lot of us have grown up with our grannies, our aunts, our mummies who would hide a lot of things and use different terms. We can't do that in today's society. We have to
We
make sure that
should.
whatever we're
Yeah.
saying is we say upfront so that when they have to explain anything to anybody else, they know what we're talking about. Sexuality, perimenopause, menopause, menstrual periods, all these things are things that was like they use all these little words to
And
change
Marie,
it
let
all
me
up.
get bold
And
here. Let me get bold here, Marie. Even sex after 60. Because there are a lot of younger people feel that once you get a certain age, your sex life goes on a shelf. And we have to disabuse
oh
some of that
Lord,
notion.
of
And certainly
course,
talking about our sexuality as we get older, how it gets different and
yes.
sometimes even better, even better.
Oh,
And
I have a friend of that age. I have a friend that age that she says she's over that. She's done.
yes,
And I'm
yeah.
saying, girl, you're going to be missing a lot.
Yeah, that's right. So these are things that we definitely need to discuss cross generationally, because we need our younger
Yes.
people, our middle aged women, to understand how their bodies are going to change and how they have to, more or less up the game. As you get older, you do things differently, you see yourself differently, and you can enjoy yourself a whole lot differently as well.
Oh, I love how you put it. Enjoy yourselves a lot more differently. Dr.
Yeah.
Charles, it is a pleasure as usual having you online with me this morning. I'm looking forward to our event, which is plugged for June. We're going to have a little change up in there, but don't worry about it. The weekend is the 12th to the 14th. Put that on your calendar. Listen out for more details on it. And always remember, as I say to you, pick up the phone, call a friend. You don't know how they are, where they are.
Mhm.
Sometimes hearing your voice lets them know that you remember them, cherish them, and love them. Over this last month, I've lost a very dear cousin of mine, and I extend condolences to my family,
My
and I've
condolences to you
lost.
too.
Thank you. I had a friend of mine who would have had her father in law. We only know that individual as one of the greatest cricketers we've had, Mr. Ian Bradshaw. His father passed away and he was buried last week. My condolences to him as well. And, these are times we have to come together. A lot is going on outside in the world, and it's going to and is affecting us right now with the war in Iran. I mean, there was another war as well, still going on with Ukraine and Russia. And these are times where we need to really come together, show our love, give. You spoke about women giving in respect of not expecting anything in return. So,
Yes.
as I close, I want people to realize it's all about love and unity.
Yes.
Give it without anything in return. Love
Mhm.
each other, share, sit down and talk with an elderly person through the window like the old time days. And
Mhm.
remember, share, care, and love. See you, folks. And I'm keeping it real with Mary. Have a
Thank,
wonderful day and
thank you,
see you
Marie.
next time. You're
Blessings.
welcome. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.